Production. Hello, everybody, welcome. Rosie and Karina, psych investigators.
Hello, everybody.
So guys, let's do the protection right away, and then we'll start. So I'd like to
Yes.
ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle, I create a circle, step into it, I step into it, I feel protected, I feel connected. I like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that I create the good and only the good, and so it is. Okay. So I've been talking to Karina. We was chat before we did the videos, and I was telling her about yesterday's video and what I had picked up. And she had an interesting insight. So I'm just gonna share quickly. I'm not gonna play even. I'm just gonna share the video that I'm referring to here because it has the so here is the late GOP House bill cutting Medicaid March 14th government funding deadline and Mike Johnson. Okay. So Karina, go ahead and share because go ahead, tell us what you saw. Okay.
You were telling me about that headline, and to be honest, I haven't had a chance to watch Rosie's video from last night, so I didn't know she spoke about this. But she was showing me a headline. We were talking, and as she was talking, I saw a big explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, "Wait, I got to show you this." And we were talking about Medicaid, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
the main thing is that the 14th is the date when it's the date for the budget not balancing the budget, or what do you call it? Like the budget has to be approved so that the government
Right.
can shut down. That's the deadline.
Right. And
So
as she was telling me about that, that's when I had the vision of the explosion.
mm,
So I tend to, then she shared with me the video from last night. So I tend to agree with that, that I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens before that, before anything goes through,
okay.
before they can vote, whatever happens, it's going, yeah, I get this massive explosion between now and then.
Okay, so let's look. Do you want to let's look because it sounds very interesting. So
Hmm.
let's see. What is this? Is this the first question I got, Corinne, actually, is this a real explosion or is it a metaphorical explosion? Do you see? Like, I'm just curious, just out of curiosity.
Well, I actually just got that. What I saw was a metaphorical explosion, but they're telling me there is going to be an explosion. Okay, so separate the two, please. Okay, so honestly, I'm just going to say this and then put this aside. They are showing me there could be a few explosions,
Mm-hmm.
some, and I think we talked about this the other night. There could be some bombs that go off in places. Um, but what they were showing me about that whole situation with what's coming is going to be an explosion. Explosion of the truth, explosion of facts, explosion of exposure, explosion. And so it is going to look like that, whether it's an actual, you know, with flames and all. So it's actually going to be imploding. It's our government kind of exploding. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say that the way they're giving it to me, but so it's more of an imploding kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's great. That's great, great. No, and as you're saying it, I see it clearly what you're saying. I see it. I don't mean to say that it's a vision, but it's kind of like what
Yeah.
you're describing. I see that you're describing something clear to me that there's this pattern of them causing explosions in different places, and
Hmm.
then eventually an explosion in but what I see is different, right? Because so just to clarify, what the thing you see in the government is the government imploding from the weight of its own actions, right? Is that kind of
Yes.
like what?
Yes. I think that's basic what we're trying to say. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
And the weight of the people that are against it at this point.
mhm, mhm.
It's a force, it really is a force to be reckoned with this time. The people that are fighting back, that holds energy. that holds weight, and that is massive this time. So it is making a difference to people fighting back.
Mm,
So it's helping the implosion.
okay. Wow. Okay. So, so because I keep just tell me what is it? What is it that I? No, because I keep synchron again that Elon Musk. So yesterday there was even actually we may be able to look at it. He wasn't spoke in a cabinet meeting, and there was television there, and it's like acting again as if he's the president. And I see that they can't get rid of him, and this is part of like he pushes things so hard in a really scary way that
Mhm.
it kind of collapses onto him and onto doesn't make sense. It doesn't work the way he wants, and he's pushing, 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 and it
Yeah.
it creates this. I don't know. Chaos is not the word. It is like you said. It's like it boom, it implodes.
Yeah. It is chaos. It is chaos because it's showing me like the guys that have been there forever that we just can't wait to leave, like the Mitch McConnells, the Chuck Grassleys, the
Mm-hmm.
all those kind of people. It's showing me them.
Mm,
They've done their life's work agendas, whether they've been good or bad, which most of those guys have been bad, but they could comfortably and easily keep carrying out these agendas and be successful. But they've got this clown out there
mm,
causing trouble and pushing them and creating havoc. These cuts, they're not going to, sure, they would love to get rid of some of them, but you can't do it the way Leon wants to go about things because that is so destructive for
mm-hmm.
even them and how they live and their constituents coming at them. They
Mm,
don't want to deal with all that.
mm,
They want to just live their lives doing what they were doing before. So he comes in and creates this big mess. So they just want him the hell out of there.
mm,
So not only is he ruining the country, but he's ruining their livelihoods, their cushy jobs, their easy way of life, the way they could take advantage of people. They were fine with all that, but they're not fine with this.
mm. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So, so I have a question, Corinne, about this. That we see both see this blindy thing that it and I what I saw the way I saw it, it looked to me as if it doesn't happen. It's almost like the vote, this whole government budget thing, it becomes a non-issue because there's so much going on. But we know that the problem with that, right, is that again, people receive money that way. There's a reason why the government can't shut down. So, are these people going to be protected when on March 14th? In spite, does it make sense? Because that's the
Mhm.
real victims here. It's people in the VA. It's people, right? So, are we going to be
Mhm.
able to avert that situation, or what? Um, what is it? What happens?
I feel like they might still have problems in March, like because it's so convoluted, is the word I get. But I feel like by April, we are back on track with Medicaid
Mm, okay.
because I know it has been disrupted because I do know somebody personally that relies on Medicaid and the SNAP benefits. She's disabled and everything's been taken away from her.
Already?
Oh, yes,
Mm,
already. And sadly, she is in a job where, because she's disabled, she works in a disabled facility. They took her job away from her too. So she was completely affected by it. So, but I saw her by like in April telling me, it's back, it's back. Like things have changed. So I hope that timeline is correct,
so
God
yeah,
willing.
because what I saw actually is that this whole collapse, this chaos thing happens as it showed me how we're talking about how there was the holdouts this time in the house, and they were able to kind of coerce them or whatever, tell them something to change their mind. And then I see that when it comes down, as it gets closer to the budget, the government shutdown thing, especially Elon Musk's people put so much pressure and demand such crazy things, and they start to push back the politicians. I'm not saying, I don't have, of course, the GOP is very messed up and all that, but even them start to say no, no, no. And they don't approve it, but then there's consequences. Does it make sense? I think
Hmm.
it's a real, like, kind of like a mafia takeover. You have to do what we say or else kind of feeling.
Yeah. It's not
And
kinda, it is.
and
Hmm.
then again there is this feeling of like that they push back and they don't approve it though. And but there's so much that I see that the house there's so much disruption because I see that they essentially these groups that are not ultra radical unite and decide to approve something that is not what they demand, what Trump or the others or whatever, Elon. And but they can't because they're literally yelling at their face, you can't do it now, like all of it, like craziness.
Yeah.
But they managed to do it, and then again, this whole thing, I think it collapses the whole, and in a way, that's why the whole government so then it goes back to that question, going, I don't think we have to answer it either, because I have no idea how, right? It's going to happen, but
Hmm.
that the whole government, I do see the entire government, it's not just Trump or Elon Musk, it's the whole government collapsing, their whole government collapsing. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense.
That it
To
doesn't.
me, it's the same scene over and over. So yes, it does make sense because it's not sustainable. And what do you
Mm-hmm.
have left to even operate? Who
Mm-hmm.
do you even have left to operate? I mean, I know you can install your cronies, but you can't run a government like that. Of course, they
Mm-hmm.
don't really want government. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
you know, you may be able to fire a few generals here and there and stuff like that, like I'd seen, but you can't get rid of every single person. You can't tell me there's not a few people out there willing to go to the nth degrees to save their country.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yeah, it's just not plausible or feasible or whatever you want to call it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Not logical. Spirit sometimes doesn't give me the right words, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me that there wouldn't be people out there fighting for this.
And then I see that there is as it gets closer, because I feel like they wanted their big goal is tied to this March 14th thing. And I see that as it gets closer, there's more and more pressure. And I see Elon starting to be even more overt about like, we have to do what Putin wants. We have like overtly almost calling out the Russians to help him come over, or like some crazy stuff like that. Like, and even the Russians,
Yeah,
don't say it, yeah,
yeah,
don't come on, like don't make it a big deal like that. Because he starts to get scared. Because we know at the end of the day, I mean, he is pretty crazy, but he's not a physical, you know what I mean? He's not a guy who has ever dealt with, he got away with everything, right? But he hasn't
yeah,
seen opposition.
yeah,
Yeah, and he starts to see it, and then he starts essentially calling for help. And you know that how what was there was a story of this woman, how he I don't know, he does IVF or whatever on the women. I don't know what you call it, in embryo
yeah.
thing, to get
Hmm.
some woman was impregnated by him recently, and she had to sue him because, of course, why would you get a child by Elon Musk before money, right? So
Right.
she, oh, he's not recognized my child, but it shows their communication, and somewhere he says like, oh, everybody wants to kill me. Apparently he has like 100 bodyguards everywhere he goes, so he's very like, doesn't make sense. He's very
Apparently.
scared at the same time that
Yeah.
he knows that he's crossing the line, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't walk around saying that.
Right? Like,
Who does that? Who walks around
right.
saying that? You're
And
not hated.
so in a way, he knows that like and I see he's like looking out the window and this and that, and like, don't let them. But he knows like that this country, and I was explaining to somebody, Quinn, by the way, about dictatorships, something that Americans may not be aware of, because I grew up in Brazil, and Brazil had a military dictatorship. And so how these dictatorships
Mhm.
work is that the military has to be on it. It's not
Right.
feasible without the military being 100% on it. And here, it's not the case. The military is not. There are
No.
maybe a lot of people in the military, maybe up to, let's say, 15%, but not more, I don't think.
Right.
So,
Agreed.
especially for a dictatorship that is going to install a historical enemy of the US, Russia, right? So you don't get support for that stuff, really. So he knows that he can't do what, like, so in Brazil, this is just that scares people, but just to tell you how it is. So people would be, if you had a book in your house that was a whatever Marxist or something, you get killed, you get tortured, you get arrested because there were these groups that wanted to take down the government. But it was a very small number of people, really. But you couldn't say anything. You couldn't. You would be arrested. Like it's hardcore. Those types of
Hmm.
dictatorships. People
Hmm.
die. Like you go to prison for saying something, for having an opposition. So that's so if a dictator because the dictatorships don't really work without like physical violent like
Right. Right. You
repression.
got to be able to enforce it.
So, so that's the thing that he may try. This is the thing, he can't do it. He doesn't have this that like, you know what I'm saying, Corner? Like he
Hmm.
doesn't have
Hmm.
the ability to get like even if let's say people that there was this guy, congressman that was arrested for domestic violence, and the charges had to be dropped. He's a very pro-Trump person in Congress because of Trump intervened, probably, right? But to see
Right.
this is different. It's like this guy is committing treason to say the least. He's in the government. He's in a crime scene basically, and there are
Hmm.
thousands of military units that could intervene to catch him. He he presumably
Right.
does not have like grenades or whatever. He can't. There's only so much he can do, right? At the end of the day, and that's
Yeah.
what I feel like he knows that he's about to be caught, and it doesn't make sense. But then he tries. He becomes like suicidal, like suicidal. He does everything to try to like stay in power because he knows his end is coming. That's what I feel like.
Hmm. Exactly. And as you're telling this whole story, I can see him running around with that chainsaw. Like that, he's going to carry that around like his son. You know what I mean? That's how he feels. His mania is taking over.
Hmm.
And he would be running around with the chainsaw trying to scare people. He's just out of it. He is losing the power. And when you start to lose that, you do crazy things.
Hmm.
So, yes, as I said before, watch for him to do crazier and crazier things. But it's almost like I also, as I watched him do that, as you were talking, I could see Trump in the background standing there watching this. He's so far out of it as well, but he is aware enough to know that I could just make him the fall guy. I could make him the one that takes the fall. And so he's just kind of sitting back, letting Leon do this stuff as well. Because, Trump's not smart, but he does have a criminal mind and he does think of every aspect of criminality. So he knows what to do in those situations. So I think he's just perfectly happy letting him do this stuff because when push comes to shove, he's going to go, it's him, it's him, it's him. I'm not me. I didn't, not me. It's him. So he's just watching it happen.
So Karina, I just another question. This then reminds me of like the question of the details about the election interference. So do you see that there is it do we still see it coming from NATO or Europe, or is it going to be discussed? Because the thing is, like, the other thing that could happen, which is just as bad, is technically JD Vance staying if Trump goes. But does it make sense what I'm saying? So does he stay at first, or does he go right away with the others? Is the question.
JD Vance?
Yeah, huh? Do we
No,
see?
I think he goes with the others.
That's right. So let's see. Because that would be the time for them to kind of solidify their power, right? I find it hard to believe in a way, right, that they would just like, okay, well, bye. That there is no, it's saying there's pressure. That's right. It shows me the military has the information, they know it. And they
Yeah.
they will, yes, because they have to make them leave. I still
Yeah.
don't feel like they will leave willingly. Like, oh, sure, see you later. We're gonna resign. We didn't do the right. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like it's gonna happen that way. Um,
No, I don't think so either. I don't think anybody's going to go willingly,
so that's right.
not even the senators. They're not going to go willingly. They're going to go when they're told to go or when they're made to go.
Wow. So let's see.
Nobody wants to give up that power because they know what the next step for them is, which is justice and facing karma, living what they put on everybody else.
Mm, mm,
They don't want to live like that.
mm.
But yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Interesting.
it's a slow process, but if one goes, they all have to go because you can't leave anybody in the system that's was connected, is connected, you know. I'm sorry, but you can't rebuild the government with, the Gabby Tulsards and the Kristen Cinemas in place and the Joe Mansions. And it's like, you're not loyal to anyone. Well, we know who you're loyal to, but you act like you're this person, but you're actually this person. No, they're all connected that way.
Mm,
We need a good flushing out, cleaning up. And I think at this point, everybody is aware of who's on the right side of history.
mm.
So let's deal with that.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Wow. Very good. Very good. It feels good. Feels good. And so as you're talking, Corina, I'm seeing this image, this trip as I come back. I was like, wow, what a this impression that by the time I come back, things will have changed so dramatically. I'm not going to spend long time there, like I think 10 days or something, but it feels like a big change. Big changes will have happened. And by
Yeah.
the time I land, I'm like, here, back, feels lighter. So we'll see.
Hmm.
So wow, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's
I
just pause. Oh, go ahead.
think
Go ahead.
March changes things.
That's right. So wow, and I see it through now. It shows me an image of a whirlwind, and I'm holding on to it, like whoa. And that's March for us. Like, oh, whoa, everybody like, hold on to
Yeah.
the thing in the ship, like kind of. It's not gonna sink, but it's like crazy storms. So
Yeah. It's
interesting.
like
Okay.
every carnival ride put together.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. All right. So let's just pause here to 1 second, and then we'll come back. Okay, guys. So we decided to go discuss the thing I posted earlier today about Romania. And here is the article from Politico. And if you look online, especially the other things I have, here's the other one that I shared. This is the image of them arresting. I guess taken into questioning the this is the guy here, right? That this is the little Carlin,
Hmm.
Colin Georgescu. So they're taking him to like for they found 900,000 euros in cash, and there's the images here. And if you look, there's a lot. If you look up on, and I don't think that the newspapers are. If you, it's mostly Romanians, I think, who are posting this.
Right.
I have no reason to believe that there's somebody's like, oh, do you have? It's from online, but I don't think that it's showing here. Okay, the first it shows that the JD Vance and Elon Musk are pissed off about this because they supported him. And here,
Hmm.
Romanian police haul in election frontrunner for questioning. The pro-Russia candidate was quizzed over the financing of his controversial successful election campaign last year. This was indicted on 6 counts and put under judicial control for 60 days, which allows him to walk free but to not leave the country, according to Romanian media reports. Okay. All right. So he American sanctions will clarify. So of course he is very close to Russia, therefore close to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
okay. All right. So the prosecutor's office attached to the High Court of Justice in cassation said an individual was indicted on Wednesday for incitement to action against the constitutional order, false statements, starting a fascist, racist, or xenophobic organization, among others. And then they found here, there's a mercenary connected to him. And then, okay, let's see. Okay, all right. So I guess as I was talking to Corinne, the question here is how is Russia? Because this guy is so, there's pictures of him with one of Russia's most famous propagandists, Alexander Dugin, for like over 10 years ago. So they've
Mhm.
been building him for a long time. And so the
Right.
question is, how is Russia take what's going to happen to this guy? By the way, I remember when this first came out, remember these elections happened. I remember seeing that he would go to prison, spend time in
Yeah,
prison,
you did. You did.
right? And then, but let's see, how is Russia taking this situation and what's going to happen next
Okay.
to Russia's influence in European elections in general, even Eastern Europe. But what's going on here with this guy?
Hmm.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I saw that old image of the salt being poured on a snail and it's
Mm,
dissolving.
wow, that's nice.
Yeah. And I got Europe, the European countries are all aware of what is going on.
Hmm.
And they're going to keep Leon and the Russians out at all as much as they can. They're already putting up the walls, the barriers. They're not allowing Starlink. They're cutting off communications, sort of thing. So they're already on this. They're not going to allow this takeover to happen. So that's when the salt came. And it is really, really damaging Russia
Mm,
because now it's kind of all out in the open
mm,
what their whole goal was. And because of Leon and his tactics and his what he's done, he's made it so obvious. So they don't have the same hold and effect. It's dissolving.
mm.
It's way
Wow,
best way to
great,
say it. It's dissolving.
great. And as you're saying this, when you're talking about EU, I saw you kind of having a resolution where they're going to require their member countries to use paper ballots, something where it's not like they're going to find a way to make sure that it's not hackable, that it could be
Right.
proven, right? Because they kind of caught it. And I see that Russia was very excited at first, like, oh wow, we did it, we're gonna get it. And then, like you said, because it was so blatant and the numbers, they also messed, the numbers were too big. They realized what happened, right? So
Mm-hmm.
EU is very committed to stopping them because now something about the way oh, that's right. They saw what happened in the US and how
Right.
quickly things can turn. And they know, and unlike us, right? They didn't do it. They're like, let's do it now. Because if we wait, look at what happened to them. We don't want to be like that. We have to act
Mm-hmm.
now. So they're not fooled.
Yes.
They're not fooled
Mm-hmm.
by it. And so, and I see again Elon Musk like, oh my God, but I thought they're not smart like me. They're retarded. You know how they use the word retarded. I'm used to the word retarded. So, so,
Yeah. And you
but
know what? They'll never have the hold again,
that's
is
right.
what I get.
Wow.
This is big. This
Say it
is
again.
actually big
So,
because it's now showing me that with them not getting their way in Germany,
mm,
with this information, this guy being arrested in Romania,
mm,
they're starting to realize that they're not going to get the hold of the European countries that they wanted. They're not going to have that cooperation. They were thinking they were going to take out NATO and everything and be able to just take over everything and the US. Well, that's not happening
mm,
anymore because now everybody's onto them. We're aware that you're going to go rob the bank. We're all standing outside the bank watching.
mm,
So they can't get away with it now. So that really, really throws off their plans.
mm. Wow. 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 No, that's great, Corinna. That's great. Feels great.
It
No.
does feel great.
No, it just shows me, it's interesting, I don't know why it's telling me, it shows me you and I, it's like somehow it's hot again, it's the summer, and that we, girls, you will see it, this thing ending. It's not, it doesn't, doesn't, I know it, I
Yeah,
would think it would take time, but it's saying, no, you're gonna get the assurance that it's not somehow it will collapse. They will need, saying Russia's
get
gonna be
validation.
rebuilt.
Hmm.
You know what they want to do to Ukraine is going to be done to them because they're like, oh, Zelensky's a dictator. We need elections. Well, guess what? Guess let's find out who actually needs election. It's you. So
Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Things are
Okay.
turning around.
Yeah, and I see interesting those Scooby-Doo thing where they lift the hood and it's like
Hmm.
it's you. Oh no, it's not me. Like no. So
Yeah. They're all going to be pointing the finger.
yeah. So that's good. It feels good, Corinne. It feels good now, right? So good. I feel good about this today.
It does
That's
feel
about
good.
it.
I'm glad we looked at that.
So, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't expect to see the whole,
yeah,
crumbling
yeah,
thing
yeah.
with them, but
It's,
it is
yeah, it's nice and
because they
nice
don't have.
to do this kind of like to look at one piece of news, but then it broadens, right? I think ultimately.
Mhm. It
So,
does. And when we do it as conversations, to me, we always seem to get more information
that's
because
right.
as we talk, as I talk, you get stuff. You talk, I get
Exactly.
stuff. To me, it always seems to broaden like that.
Very good, very good. Excellent. Okay, very good, very good. Okay. So this is a good enough for now, right? So we'll see you
Hmm.
guys tomorrow and have a good evening. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll
You
talk soon.
too. And everybody have a good
Okay.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.